Greetings. Yes, it is I, the Count. And I'm about to find out what the number of the day is.
Hello, Wobbly Phil here. Not many motorcycles have boasted a V5 engine. In fact, I can only think of one, the RC211V, which was Honda's 200 bhp ball-busting MotoGP winning bike in the early 2000s. Those were the days when MotoGP was worth watching. There hasn't even been a heap of V5 cars, although Volkswagen's VR5 sort of counts. Oh, and a few Chinese models that were called V5 to cunningly disguise the fact that they were inline fours. So how, in the name of everything that's holy, did BSA come up with a V5 engine in the 1970s? I've made umpteen videos about the dying days of BSA Triumph and, along with Norton, what became NVT. Poor management, losses in the millions, labour relations down the gurgler, greedy banks, blah blah blah. Check out the Three Phil's Motorcycles playlist if you want to know more. And towards the end of this year, I'll be putting together a definitive video on the topic of what went wrong with the British motorcycle industry. But despite my overall recollection that living in Britain in the 1970s was akin to walking around in a perpetual fug of industrial farts, we were still capable of coming up with exciting transport innovations. As a teenager, your spirits could be lifted by the likes of Concorde, massive cross-channel hovercraft, the tilting advanced passenger train, and Professor Eric Laithwaite's maglev tracks, a firm favourite on the film projector during double physics, which even made an appearance in a James Bond film.
I want that ready for Ahmed's tea party.
All that, and the Austin Princess too. My dad's Princess started rotting as soon as it left the British Leyland showroom, and within a year the paint had bubbled up to the point where the car looked like it had caught a very bad case of rust-induced smallpox.
It's the biggest news since the Mini.
Oh well, it must have been the salty breeze in the shabby seaside town where we lived. It was in this white heat of transport technology that BSA Triumph decided to embark on designing a new series of models that would beat the Japanese at their own game. During 1972, BSA Triumph was spinning any number of plates, most of which looked like they were about to crash to the floor. But it was recognised that once the loans, the unions, Barclays Bank, the management consultants, and all the other stuff, including Duff 650 Bonnevilles and a Duff prototype for the 750 upgrade had been sorted, plans would have to be made to develop a new range of bikes for launch in the mid-1970s that would take the company into the 1980s. Unless some inroads could be made into Japanese dominance by then, the best the company could hope for was a lingering end. The Trident Rocket 3 was going great guns. In fact, the firm couldn't make enough to keep up with demand, and it was due to get an upgrade to a capacity of 830 cc's. But what was really required was a completely new range of bikes that could capture the market from the Japanese in all segments, from 250cc's to a whopping 1250cc's. So the hunt was on for the next big thing. One approach was to develop a Wankel rotary engine, and I covered that in this video. The link is in the description. The short version is that, despite 5 or 6 years of development already, the
Wankel rotary engine
was producing not much more than what insiders referred to as burnt offerings. So a decision was made to go back to the drawing board on that. At the same time, plans were afoot to introduce a modular range of engines and bikes based on a 200cc cylinder that could be upgraded to 250cc at some future date. Twin cylinders would give 400 or 500 cc's, 3 cylinders 600 or 750 cc's, 4 cylinders 800 or 1000 cc's, and this is where we came in. 5 cylinders would provide BSA with a 1 litre, even a 1 1/4 litre Grand Superbike, or muscle bike as we might call it today. Every machine would have simple overhead cam valve gear, be capable of electric starting, could be upgraded to 4 valves per head, and most importantly, be designed and engineered to eliminate the oil leak. They would have been cheaper, quicker, and less labour-intensive to manufacture too. With tubeless tyres on alloy wheels, it was a very modern package for the day. Many of the engine parts had already been tested. According to Bert Hopwood, BSA's chief engineer, a lot of theoretical study had been undertaken into potential balancing problems with the V5, which had, rather optimistically perhaps, concluded that they would be no more serious than their current triples, plus the engine would be very much smaller than the Rocket 3 and Tridents. In the 4-valve configuration, this engine could have pumped out something like 110 bhp, more than Honda's Halo 6-cylinder CBX. BSA Triumph duly went cap in hand to Her Majesty's government asking for a ginormogantuan interest-free loan of £5 million, about 60 mil in today's money, to make their future-proof product range a reality. To which the answer was a resounding meh. Not that civil servants probably used that phrase back then. Apparently the civil servants had already made up their mind to let the company drift into oblivion, or at best merge with Norton under poor management and then drift into oblivion. Norton had very few future-proof ideas of its own, apart from a joint project for a race bike with legendary British Formula 1 engine designers Cosworth. Together, they hacked off a couple of cylinders from Cosworth's legendary 3-litre V8 Formula 1 engine and stuck it in a custom Norton frame, designed by these gentlemen, who I had the immense pleasure of filming with 20 years ago, when they rebuilt the Norton Challenge P86, using some old photos and their memories following the destruction of the original in the tragic fire at the National Motorcycle Museum in September 2003. NVT's chairman, Dennis Poor, nixed BSA's plans in order to follow this pipe dream, despite the machine performing poorly on the racetrack, and despite it being less future-proof insofar as it wasn't designed in-house and it was entirely water-cooled, with no option for an air-cooled version, like BSA's modular engine design. Oh, and Bert Hopwood rather sarcastically commented in his resignation letter to Poor in 1973 that a BSA engine had already exceeded the Cosworth engine's power output in 1952. BSA's new designs never did come to fruition. The government recalled NVT's loans in 1975 and refused to renew its export credit, at which point the company went into receivership. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please consider liking, subscribing, commenting and sharing to let YouTube know we're doing something right here at 3 Phils. Thank you.